Bristol Motor Speedway has seen itself be a major fixture on the Southern Shore Track scene since 1961. However, to spice things up in recent years, someone came up with the idea to place dirt on this facility and have the boys go at it. While they no longer feature dirt racing in real life on this facility, we're able to look forward to it on the sim. Hi, my name is Smitty Kune here with Connor Horn. And Connor, well, you're going to be joining me for round 4 of the VDRA Late Model Series here at Bristol Motor Speedway, the dirt configuration, as we see these guys get down to it and get to business.
Yeah, it should be pretty fun. This is going to be a very fast track for these Dirt Pro late models, and I'm pretty excited to watch it. I haven't watched a proper dirt race in a little while. I dabble in it every now and then, but these things are really hard to control, especially at a track this high banked. You're going to see a lot of different lines being used tonight in the heat races and the main feature, so it should be fun. Especially should be fun to see all these drivers trying to chase down the man to beat, Tyler Gary. He hasn't been beat yet, and no one's really even been close.
No one really has been close, unfortunately. Everyone's going to be chasing that man down. And it's to the point where they've put a $25 bounty on his head to see for any driver that can beat him and be the first one to beat him this season. But for now, we're going to have to see if they can beat him in qualifying here as we head down to it on the racetrack. Drivers already flying around here on the banking. A couple notable drivers. Carter Koop out there on the track just put down his time. For the evening, Travis Beckner in the 27 notably out there. Although the big thing with Beckner, he's got an EOL for tonight. One of 4 drivers to get an EOL.
Yeah, that's going to be for their heat races. So as long as they make it through their heat race, they should be just fine, but it wouldn't transfer over to the main feature event. They're going to have to start the back of their heat races. Beckner's one of them. I believe Mason Kane, Bryce Senesac is one of them, and I believe Daryl Bass is the 4th one. So those drivers are going to have to fight through their heat races for sure.
Riding on board with Tyler Gary, the man to beat, as he goes flying around, and you can see the banking, and this is what makes Bristol, the dirt version of Bristol, so unique, because no other dirt track, from what I can think of, Connor, unless you can think of something else, another track, is the banking. There's so much of it to use, although I feel like a lot of drivers are going to be bottom feeding, at least at the beginning.
I think at the beginning you are going to be bottom feeding. I just think when the track is going to be fresh and it's going to be 100% grip, in these dirt cars, you're going to be running around the bottom of the racetrack. Once it wears out, you get too slick on the entry to the corner, you might see drivers venture up the racetrack all the way up to the wall. But I still think the bottom's going to be preferred line. I think passing is going to be a little bit tougher than normal.
Jane Freiberger, another driver who's kind of established himself near the front of the order in this series, performing fairly well. I expect to see him do decent in qualifying here. First lap, not so hot. Of course, imagine just a bit of a warm-up here. We'll see if he's pushing on his second lap. Can he secure it across the line for the 24? And it will put him up in P2. Solid lap for the 24 car.
Good to see at least someone challenging Gary's time. No one was within a 1/10 of his time until Freiberger went up there and got just 400th off that #1 speed. Bryce Senesac starting at the back of his heat, so this won't matter too much for him besides just placing him in a heat. 15.875 is all he could get. It's about 4/10 off the pole, a little further down the order than he wanted. But like we said, he's got an EOL for the heat, so it won't matter too much.
Yeah, it won't matter a whole lot. We'll see what he can muster back up to qualify. And I believe we should be seeing everyone move on. You really the 24 car limit is kind of where we see that LCQ get implemented and sending some drivers home. But as it stands, sitting at 23, just shy of that limit, as Dalton King comes across the line, he sets time in 5th place. Jacob Bell, one of the last drivers to put a time down, sitting on pit road waiting for him to go. Everyone else has put a time down.
And everyone else is very upset because they're waiting an extra minute and a half. The one guy in the session not qualifying. That drives me crazy in officials. You have that race now. But
there's always that one guy that holds everyone up.
Person who doesn't hit it. I am trying to run my V's at Lime Rock. Please hit the button. But Jacob Bell, I don't believe he has an EOL, but just not going out there quite yet. Track conditions won't change for him. He still just has to rip it around the bottom if he wants to, but he might elect to start at the back of the field. Now there he goes. He heard us.
He's like, oh, yeah, I gotta look at the times. Like, I have to get it done. Good news is that Bristol is a very short lap. He only needs about 30 seconds to get all 2 laps in, and you should have, I wouldn't say more than enough time, but he'll have at least 10-second buffer to get them in. Here he comes flying around for lap #1 of 2. You see him going to the bottom of the track. Let's expect to be the speed early on, but maybe we'll see as the session moves forward, I saw some guys in practice testing the high line out to see if it can work. You see him losing traction in turns 3 and 4, and up the hill he went.
And that's one thing that's going to be a big thing about today's race. Man, he's really sideways on the bottom of the racetrack. He just can't get it down there, really. There's no line, you know, on a normal pavement racetrack, you would have like a white line to see the difference from the banking to the flat of the racetrack. You don't have that here. It's really hard to tell where the apron and the flat part of the track starts and where the banking begins. So you're going to see a lot of drivers hitting the left front on the flat of the racetrack like he did there and shoot themselves up the racetrack. That's going to be a very tough part of running the bottom line. You don't really know where to run it.
Yeah, and with that, that will set our qualifying order for the heats. And, well, these heats go by extremely quickly. I kind of love the rapid-fireness of the way the heats are structured here for iRacing. And already got gridding going on for our first of several heats here tonight. Let's head down to the grid and we'll take a look at our drivers, our starting lineup here for heat number 1. On pole, it's going to be Tyler Gary in the number 26 machine. Next to him, Dalton Kane in the 7 in P2. A solid starting lineup. Then you head back, Brad Slaughter, another quick driver in the number 8 machine, rolling off in 3rd. Carter Coop will be next to him in the 52. Bryce Senezak lined up 5th in the 09, and we're waiting on Chris Seidenfeld in the 99 machine. He'll be rounding out our field of 6 for heat number 1.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty big tale to see how much pace Tyler Gary has over the field here once again. Heat this short, 8 laps, I don't think you'll see that high line come in, but you'll really be able to see the driver who's the best at this series so far. 3 for 3, looking to go 4 for 4. I think we'll get a good look at seeing him rip the bottom of the racetrack once it's fresh.
Yeah, that's what I'm sure a lot of the drivers are waiting for it to freshen up. They can get down there. I'm curious to see, with the fairly large surface of track these guys can use. I mean, I'll try to see there. You can see you got a very, very wide racing surface. Of course, you really have the apron, and like we've seen, a lot of drivers almost using that essentially as the racing line. So you have even more room to race with than what you do on the actual asphalt version of the track. So I'm just curious to see how much we can get these guys spread out. We saw, I think, almost 4 wide at Volusia. Drivers really using up that slightly wider surface. So I'm curious to see if we can maybe try for 5 wide here.
I hope not. Only on the pace laps, I think, is what we need there. We have, of course, at least 4 lanes of that or something like that. But yeah, it should be interesting. I think in that feature, you'll definitely see it get a little bit more worn out. And you'll see more drivers testing out every different line, whether it's high, middle, low, even the apron line if they can run it. That'd be pretty tough to do. But definitely interested to see how wide this racetrack can get. It looked like it got pretty wide, very worn out in practice, but you still saw the faster drivers ripping the bottom of the racetrack for speed. Well, the top line was there, it just didn't seem to have enough pace through the center of the corner.
Field rolling off through turn 2, first of 2 pace laps as everyone gets warmed up and ready to go. And from the looks of it, I think the lights have just come on, although it's fairly dark, all things considered, as the sun starts to set. And actually, that reminds me, let's take a look at our weather. We don't expect massive changes, but what is nice is that we finally have this in Freedom units instead of Celsius like we had for the first 3 rounds, so I don't need to convert it. Air temp 67, track temp 55, which I think is as cool as it's going to get. And actually, that is very cool. Very cold, actually, now that I think about that.
I've never seen below like 65. I didn't think it killed that low. It must be different for dirt than what
it is freezing cold on the dirt.
Yeah, the dirt, do not touch the dirt. Your hand will freeze. That's how that works. But should be a little interesting. I don't know how much that's actually going to play a factor in the way these cars handle, but I'm still expecting to see. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the 26 rips around this place.
See how he can rip it around. Will he end up on top? Again, not expecting anyone to be going home. So this is just a matter of setting your position up. And as they go through turns 3 and 4, off and away, green flag out in the air. Heat 1 is underway. Tyler Gary leading the field through turn 1. Dalton Kane on the bottom. Meanwhile, it's Brad Slaughter and Carter Coop up top, fighting for P3.
Kane got to the inside of Gary, trying to take the spot from him on the first lap of the race, and he's so close to getting it done, but Gary's strong on the outside, trying to pinch Kane off the corner, but Kane's going to get the spot.
Solid move by Kane, caught the 26 sleeping, if anything. I didn't think he would be able to muster up enough momentum, but he managed to make the move. 26 is not done yet. He saw him looking to the outside on the exit turn 4, trying to find some sort of way around. Meanwhile, this battle for third still heated up. A slide job by Brad Slaughter in front of Coop.
Yeah, they're going to let the top two get away here, and you're going to see Gary go to the high side, Coop and Slaughter going to be side by side. Well, you see Gary trying to get that run, but those two are still side by side for third, while Side Fat and Senesac are going to battle.
Oh!
Slaughter hard.
Contact with Carter Coop and massive damage to the 8. That's going to be a retirement in this heat for the number 8 machine. That's unfortunate. We may see the chance of a caution coming out here as these guys rip through turns 1 and 2.
Looked like maybe a little bit of net code. I don't think that was really anything Carter Cooper or Brad Slaughter did wrong, but you're starting to see already the bottom of the track maybe get a little bit too greasy to run up there. Dalton Kane already trying to push that groove up at least one lane, while Tyler Gary is just trying to find some room to maybe get him up off the bottom of the racetrack. He kind of slid off of 2 on the initial lap, and it cost him the lead.
Battling going on near the back. Bryce Senezak versus Chris Seidenfeiten here. It's a battle for 4th and 5th place. Whoa, as Seidenfeiten taps the wall a little bit, loses some ground. Tyler Gary catching back up to Dalton Kane. Next time around, white flag will be in the air.
We'll see if see if Gary can do anything about Dalton Kane. Kane holding a pretty wheel. Very solid heat for this guy. He's maybe going to get the pole for the main event. One more to go, and Gary is close enough to make a move, but can he make a move?
We'll see one more attempt through turns 3 and 4. A little bit of a bump trying to upset the 7. That might be enough on the outside across the line. It will be by a nose to the number 7 of Dalton Kane.
A little bit of a bump and run at a dirt track. Dalton Kane was not having any of it at all.
Oh boy, aggressive end to heat number 1. Kane taking the win, and that should set him up for pole position when we head on to the main event. Already racking them and stacking them for heat number 2. Jaden Freiberger will be leading them on down in the 24.
Freiberger is going to be starting on the number 1 spot. Like you said, Jordan Martin, who's been impressive this season. I believe Martin is one of only 3 drivers to finish all 3 races in the top 10, all features in the top 10 so far, including Gary and Beckner. So Jordan Martin could be a threat for the victory. Got James Shanewoolf, Case Lakatis on the row behind, and then Jacob Bell in that 5th position with Darrell Bass.
Yeah, and also, you know, with Martin, it's been a fairly quiet run for him in this series. He hasn't been the most flashy. He has had a couple of attempts up near the front, near for the lead, but always manages to get a decent finishing position in when it's all said and done. Take a look at your starting lineup here for heat number 2. Freiberger, we mentioned, starting on pole for this heat. Jordan Martin lining up next to him in P2. James Shanewoolf lined up in the 14 car, lined up in 3rd. Casey Lakatis next to him in 4th position in the 13. Then Jacob Bell in the 77 lined up in 5th, with Darrell Bass in the 90, rounding out our field of 6 for heat number 2.
We'll see if we get a similar type of story from the first heat. Gary got the pole, and then he seemed like he just kind of missed the middle of 1 and 2, slipped up the track, let the 2nd place driver in Dalton Kane get that spot. So maybe in this heat, it'll be Dalton Kane, not Dalton Kane, excuse me. It could be Jordan Martin trying to pull the same move.
See what they do here. A-Struck leading them through 3 and 4.
Already hitting.
And there you go, on the engines, off and away. Flying down to the start-finish line, a green flag in the air for heat number 2. Drag race for 2nd place. James Shanewoolf taking advantage up to P2 ahead of Jordan Martin.
Shanewoolf, good move there. Jordan Martin just didn't get going really at all. Freiberger was able to get pretty much away from everyone there. Now Shanewoolf doesn't have too much time to really chase them down.
Yeah, Freiberger, a massive lead for him. We'll see if that lead will stay only just a couple short laps. There's the 17 looking down low, gets cut off. Meanwhile, behind, Jacob Bell right behind in 4th. Lakatis and Darrell Bass fighting out for 5th place.
Yeah, those two side by side, pretty intense stuff already. Lakatis trying to run that high line. Now he goes back to the bottom, flips that left rear on the apron a little bit. They get bumper tag a little bit for that 5th spot as Freiberger still got a decent lead. He and Shanewoolf ran the same exact lap last time by.
Yeah, thing is, you can't just run the same lap. You got to run a little bit faster to catch back up. See the 90 of Bass trying to make a move on the bottom. Can't quite work. Meanwhile, the 24 continues to maintain his lead over Shanewoolf, who's now starting to get more and more heat from Jordan Martin behind him.
Canada's really washed up the track. That battle for 5th is still pretty tight, but the battle for 2nd, like you said, is getting a little bit hotter. I think Jordan Martin might be a touch faster, but I don't know if he can pull off this pass in such a short amount of time without a mistake. And you saw maybe a little mistake right there. Shane Wolf a little too sideways in turn 2. Here goes Martin with the slide job. Can't make it work, but he forced Shane Wolf up the track a little bit.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is that he needs to find an opening, some sort of mistake. He found the opening there in turn 3, is still working on it, but that momentum carried on the outside is a lot. Some door banging here, side-to-side contact here, and still more contact in the middle of 3. The 14 has to give up.
It's going to move him up the track a little bit. He'll get the 2nd spot just because of that contact, and this is the final lap, so Shane Wolf has at least one opportunity to get it back.
There we go, one final opportunity. P1 already sorted, trying to figure out who's going to finish in 2nd. Contact with the 14 to Martin is not going to be enough. Bell comes in around, but can't quite get enough. Flagberger, Martin, Shane Wolf, Bell, your top 4. Ooh, it's got a little bit ugly, maybe some frustration there at the end. Oh boy.
Sure, Martin definitely got the elbows out, but it got him the P2 position. That was a pretty good run by Freiberger. Just had a really good initial start, and that's all he needed to take the victory without any challenge.
Yeah, some excellent stuff here. Some hard-fought battles. And the thing, these guys are racing this hard in just the heats. We haven't even gotten anywhere close to the feature, and they're already battling this hard.
It's only going to get harder from here. At least in the feature, you're going to have a lot more time to get to the front, and you maybe don't have to get the elbows out until maybe the last 20 or so laps with a 50-lap feature.
And already Heat 3 field is on the racetrack and getting off and away. Travis Beckner getting his EOL. And it was interesting, I wasn't sure if the EOLs were, oh yeah, no, they did mention, actually, I just cannot read. The EOLs were for the heat races, so we already saw Daryl get his in the number 90 machine. Bryce Enizek also had his in the 09. Now Travis Beckner getting his EOL for this race. And I think it's much better to get an EOL in the heat race than in the feature, because that's a lot harder to work from.
Yeah, this is a little bit more simple. You still won't have the time to maybe get to the lead of this heat and win this heat, but you'll definitely be able to, I would think, get at least up into the top 3.
Taking a look at our drivers for heat number 1, Beckner was scheduled to start on pole, but will have to be relegated to the back of the field. Moving up a row will be Jordan Navarro in the 96. Next to him, Jacob York in the 97. Then moving back another row, it'll be J.J. Crow, Ed Robinson, side by side for them. And then Casey Borgmeyer will be starting up in 5th, technically, in the 101 machine as they work through turns 3 and 4.
Beckner's going to start on the outside, the longest row, tail end of the longest line. We'll see how many spots he can get in one lap.
There we go, late start, off and away. Tight quarters battle in behind for 2nd place. A big dive down low. I think that was Ed Robinson that threw it down there. No, sorry, that was the 21 of J.J. Crow that threw it down there. That held him up. Here comes Beckner. He has nowhere to go.
And what Crow did, he's kind of forced everyone on the higher line up off the track. Jacob York and Ed Robertson both kind of went way too high, took evasive action, but they were still able to settle into the 2nd and 3rd positions while Beckner gets by Borgmeyer for that 5th position. Now he goes to work on Crow for the 4th position.
Working down low, trying to find some sort of way by, looking at Travis Beckner, his onboard. See him working the wheel, trying to find some sort of way around for a position. And he's already started to run out of time. We're just about halfway through this heat. That's how quickly they go. Crow up and almost into the wall.
Might have lost the spoiler, or at least part of the car off the back. He hit it pretty hard, but I guess all good. Pretty fast through turns 1 and 2. I thought he destroyed the rear end, but got away with it as now Beckner trying to take advantage of that mistake. Just can't quite do it. The track just not quite worn enough out yet to make passes a little easier. So pretty tough.
Yeah, I was trying to make it work on that inside lane. It's just not quite there, like you mentioned. So I'm not sure if he's going to have to try to go high or something. He's trying to find some sort of way around, maybe get a little bit aggressive. He's to the inside of the 21. We throw it in low, chucks it in low.
Oh, he's going to make it wide. He kind of forced J.J. Crow into a lift or die situation. They kind of did both. It really hurt the front end of that 21, though. And he's going to get the same thing back from Borgmeyer. He's not getting a lot of respect this heat.
Yeah, J.J. Crow, sometimes you're the bat, sometimes you're the ball. He was just the ball twice in one single lap. Meanwhile, it's starting to actually get a little bit heated up here for position. It's Navarro, York, Robinson. Navarro, a little bit of a lead here. White flag in the air for these drivers for heat number 3. Navarro leading them into turn 1. York or Robertson. Can Robertson maybe come up with a dime last second here?
I think York is faster, just not enough time to make the move. He'll just kind of run in Navarro's tire tracks, hope for a mistake. He won't quite get it.
Here we go. Across the line, Navarro taking the win in heat number 3. York, Robertson, Beckner finishing in 4th, with Borgmeyer and Crow rounding out your 6-car field.
That was pretty good action there in the middle of that heat. We'll get at least one more heat here with even 6 more drivers, and this should be a pretty fun one indeed.
Yeah, a couple drivers in here getting ready and on the grid. Already on the grid, and off and away they will go. Let's take a look at your drivers for our 4th and final heat of the evening. Ryan Zabot in the number 10 machine starting on pole. Brent Puncari, we line up next to him in the 35 machine. Moving him back to row number 2, it'll be Connor Hughes in the number 5 on the inside, and third next to him, Ryan Swan, lined up in the 20 machine. And lined up behind them, Christian DeBoer, 56. We're rounding out our field of 5, just 1 car short here. This is our 23-car field entry list for this evening. 1 car short for these drivers. We'll see how this will go. Based on this lineup, and if my memory serves me correctly, I feel like this should be the calmer of the 4 heats, but I very much could be wrong with that assessment.
Oh, we could definitely be wrong. It's very easy to be wrong with how many variables there are, but I am interested to see how the pole sitter for this heat gets along with the Zabot and the 10. The only heat that has not been won by the pole sitter, or the driver who at least launched first, was the first heat where Gary lost out on that first heat. Last heat, we had the driver in third pretty much control the start, which was Jordan Navarro. So far, the only person to make a pass for the win in the heat was Dalton Kane.
See, that will change here, depending on how this start goes. Pace truck's going to be off. Zabot going to be in charge of the field. Can he hang on to that position, or will Pincari, or even the 5 of Connor Hughes, can they mount him anything? Immediately, the 10 is off and away. But poor start for Ben Pincari. Green flag in the air. Here comes Connor Hughes to the inside, immediately trying to take 2nd place away.
I think he'll be able to. Don't think Pincari will have the grip off the corner to challenge. Battle for 4th will be side by side for a moment. Swan and DeBoer, they'll stay side by side. They're almost 3 wide for 2nd as Zabot tries to get away.
And very tightly in line. Ooh, Connor Hughes has some internet issues here. He's working to the inside. Pincari up on top on the outside. Now trying to defend 3rd place. Doesn't want to get put back in 4th, but unfortunately might not have a choice. 20 is up to 3rd place. Ryan Swan, Connor Hughes in 2nd. Pincari, though, still all over the back of the 20, might still be able to fight back.
And you're already seeing in this heat, we're not even to the feature yet, and this group has already been pushed up. I would say at least 2 extra lanes, as you can see that cushion getting higher and higher up on the banking.
Yeah, everyone looking and searching for grip, and you can see a lot higher, like you mentioned. Ooh, even the 56 in the background, DeBoer all the way up against the wall, trying to search for some sort of grip. Swan diving down low, hip check to the 5.
That was also looked a little interesting there. I don't think Swan was even close to hitting him, but Hughes gets the short end of a stick, a lot of left front damage. He's got to manage for the last half of this heat as Swan's up to 2nd, looking pretty fast.
Looking pretty fast. Connor Hughes, you can see him diving down low, maybe trying to see if he can, there's still some sort of grip, a lane down. You got to try something, you got to experiment if you want to make up some positions here. Ben Pincari driving down from high to low on the exit of turn 2. As Ryan Swan setting his sights on Ryan Zabot, who just kind of took off and hasn't really looked back 2 laps ago.
Very consistent laps for Zabot, and I think consistent enough where Swan won't be able to make any sort of move. He's trying to keep the left side in the good stuff on the bottom of the racetrack and at least keep his right side there in the cushion trying to get that run. Just not quite as fast as the 10.
Out of turn 4, white flag in the air. Ryan Zabot leading them away. Ryan Swan in 2nd, trying to see if he can catch back up. Fortunately, might be a little too late for the number 20 machine as Zabot floors it around the top side of the track. Across the line for him, win in heat number 4. Swan, Pincari, Hughes, and DeBoer rounding out your field of 5. And with that, be wrapping up the heat events here from Bristol.
No more 5th heat, no consolation because a 23-car field. We got a little bit of a warm-up, get the track broken in a little bit more. We should be ready for racing.
You should be ready for some racing in just a little bit. Things moving quickly here at Bristol, the Bristol Classic here. Round number 4 of this series. And, you know, we talked about, as far as the season picture, again, it has been essentially one-man show.
Yeah, we've pretty much seen all season long that it's been a one-man show, but we might see signs of someone getting that $25 bounty from Tyler Gary. We saw a number of fast drivers in these heats, but you gotta obviously look at Dalton Kane. This might be, I have not watched in full all of Tyler Gary's wins, but I'd be willing to bet that's one of the few passes for the lead that have been had all season long, whether in a heat or a feature, and it happened on the initial start of the race, so the initial start of the race could dictate the victory at the front of the field. It could be interesting.
Definitely could, but this season, you know, even though Gary has 3 wins to his name, this is still a very long season to go. 24 rounds in total, with a couple of Crown Jewel events thrown in. We actually just came off a Crown Jewel event 2 weeks ago on March 5th. We were at Volusia, 100 laps there, 50 laps for tonight. And it was double points on the line as well. So there's still very much a chance for some of these drivers to come back in this championship. And I mean, looking at the top of the standings, Tyler Beckner and Jordan Martin. We talked about Jordan Martin. The consistency has been there. Not necessarily the best when it comes to the wins column, but has been fairly consistent as finishes 4th, 7th, and 5th. Which is going to be hoping for maybe a little bit more out of a race here tonight.
We'll see. I think it will be interesting how this race plays out. I'm interested to see how all 23 drivers, as long as we get, whether we get it broken in this warm-up or in the feature, you'll see that groove get pushed up even more to the wall, and then it'll eventually come back down to the bottom of the racetrack. And we saw at least some drivers actually trying that apron line out a little bit. I don't think it worked quite well, but we will see it get broken in a little bit. You will see drivers trying to push the issue, trying to get track position quick using that apron, because it is still going to be pretty hard to pass even in the mid-pack. So track position is going to be pretty important.
And taking a look at the track here, we're still in the warm-up phase, and actually the drivers finally get out on the track. They're revving their engines for a while. I didn't think they're actually going to get out there, but we can already see the kind of the loose dirt was pushed up the racetrack, and you can see it started to get a little bit more packed down on the bottom of the apron, which is the shortest way around. And we saw quite a few drivers using it, but it's kind of almost, I don't want to say unusable, but it's not ideal.
It definitely didn't seem to be working the last 2 heats. I think obviously that was the preferred line in the first heat, but even then in the first heat you saw Kane and Gary kind of go up at one groove, and that was just in 8 laps. We get 10 laps in with 23 cars on the field, you're already going to see all sorts of grooves being used, and you'll see everyone kind of migrate around the racetrack as it goes on and on. We'll see it even here with about 15-20 cars on track in just 2 minutes, how different this track will change, how much it will change.
Yeah, that's the beauty of dirt racing here in iRacing, the dynamic track adjusting over time, the drivers having to adapt to it, not just in a single race, but also over the course of an event. From heats to last chance qualifiers, the track is constantly changing, and they have to adapt to it on the fly, readjust their lines, readjust their, the way they attack the corner, and it just leads to some beautiful, beautiful stuff when it comes to the racing.
We'll see some pretty darn good racing at that, especially with the drivers we have tonight. It should be fun. You'll see, I think you will see 4 wide at some point. Whether it works or not, I can't guarantee, but you'll see drivers pushing the limits, especially, I think, right after halfway, as I think when the urgency will pick up.
See the drivers working around here, getting warmed up. 1 minute left in this session. Everyone all on the racetrack together at once. You can see a fairly small track. Once you get them all spread out, they're pretty much filling up the entirety of the racetrack, so not a whole lot of space. We saw at Volusia that lap cars came into play. Do you think we may see that be a factor tonight? It's only 50 laps, but do you think there might be enough time for that to come into play?
I don't know if it... I think maybe a little bit. I don't know how much it's going to come into play. Like, it is a small track, but the pace, I think everyone has pretty similar pace. I think that's why we're seeing passing be difficult, because I think everyone's pace is pretty even, so I think it might be tough as far as getting the lap traffic. We'll just have to wait and see, but I don't think they'll run into too much traffic.
Yeah, I think they're going to hope they don't have to run into a lot of traffic and deal with it, but we'll see as qualifying comes to an end here. And we get ready and await a lineup here for the main event. And, we talked about here for these drivers again. Is this going to be the chance? Will someone other than Tyler Gary be at the top of the scoring pylon?
Just have to wait and see. Dalton Kane, it's going to be pretty important for him to get a pretty good start. He's not going to have to deal with Gary because he put him second. That puts him back at least one extra row, so it should make things interesting to see if Kane can get away with the lead or Freiberger, Navarro, Sabot. It'll be a pretty big fight between those four and plus Gary, so throw 5 of them in there trying to fight for the lead on the initial start.
Yeah, a lot of big names near the top. And that's really what's going to make it more interesting. But we did see a lot of comers and goers when it came to Volusia. A lot of tire saving, which I never really heard of in a dirt car. Makes sense that they would have to save tires, especially over a 50-lap event. But we saw Gary and Beckner. They waited around for quite a bit, got a caution at the right time, and came flying back through the field with a lot of momentum and a lot of grace. We'll see though returning to our normal 50-lap. Timeline, or I should say schedule distance for a majority of the races this season. So with the laps being wound down, we'll see who's going to be getting on the ball, jumping on the ball here as the pace truck is ready to roll off. There it goes.
Should be, like I said, going to be a pretty important start for Dalton Kane to kind of get away and not make the mistake that Tyler Gary made on the initial start of the first heat of the race.
Field gets out there and on the track. We'll take another look at your weather. Actually got slightly warmer somehow from the afternoon to the evening. I guess it makes sense because it was stupidly cold in the first place.
Yeah, one extra degree. That's good. That really changed things up for the drivers, I would say.
Yeah, I'm still amazed that it was that cold on the surface. Normally we've seen, I remember seeing at one point a record of 150 degrees at Charlotte one time for a fuel race a long time ago. That was either the highest temperature I've ever seen for the track, and seeing now the coldest I've ever seen for a track on iRacing.
We'll see. I'm still very interested in this initial start. How aggressive drivers, especially drivers maybe in the mid-pack, how aggressive will they be trying to get positions at the very beginning of this race? That's what I'm personally looking for.
Field working their way on the back straightaway, 23 cars strong. As we wait for the pace truck to pull off, field in control of Dalton Kane. Let's get to it. Let's get it down. We're green here at Bristol, round number 4 for the VDRA Late Model Series. Dalton Kane off and away. Here comes Freiberger with a big run off turn 2, has to take evasive action.
Kane clipped the apron. I just don't think he clipped it right because it kind of slowed him up too much on exit. That's going to put the 24 to the lead.
And 3 wide in the background. Tyler Gary in the middle of that mess trying to make something work. Distinct lines on the top, distinct lines on the bottom. You can see the number 10, Ryan Zabel, trying to make up some ground as well. Jordan Martin in behind him, and then Navarro and Swan up on top.
Oh, there's a lot of contact in the back of the field with a few other drivers, but Navarro, Martin, Zabel, they're all over each other at the front, so it's kind of hard to look everywhere else. There's sliders being thrown at the back of the field. I think Bryce Senesac was a victim of that one from Darrell Bass, as Zabot, Gary, Kane, and Freiberger. That's 4th to 1st in that order, but like I expected, you're seeing a lot of sliders early, drivers trying to get track position as quickly as possible.
Talk about a driver trying to get track position. Brad Slaughter, a driver we know is pretty quick in these things, but is started near the back, has to work his way up. Already up 4 spots from his starting position. Only 4 laps in. We'll see if he can still make more progress. Meanwhile, at the front, 7 to Dalton Kane all over the back of Freiberger, and here comes Gary as well in 3rd.
Gary quickly got the 3rd, kind of stalled at least at this point as they're pushing about 4 wide for the 6th position with Martin, Shane Wolf, Robertson, Jacob York. They were all in there, but obviously a good start for Gary. Still ripping the bottom of the racetrack while the leaders run the high part of the track.
Yeah, we're starting to see the line shift. You're going to run low. You got to run very low. No one's really going for the middle at the moment. It's starting to get more and more worn out. There goes Shane Wolf finding his place in line. In between him, between York and Robertson in 9th place. But slight top 3 breakaway at the moment. Gary, you see him running just a little bit offset near the bottom of the racetrack as he tries to find his lane. A lot of drivers starting to get a little bit more settled in line. This Travis Beckner up 2 spots from his starting position in 13th.
Gonna come out right behind Connor Hughes. He had a pit road penalty, or maybe an initial start penalty. You couldn't tell why he had a black flag, but he served it. Now he's the only driver. Laps down. He's 3 down, but Beckner already trying to work through this field. And
hello.
You can see how tall of a task it is, as there's a little bit of contact up ahead with Jacob York getting into the left rear. James Shanewolf, that's for 9th.
Already getting feisty, already getting aggressive out here for these drivers. So they're working around, and we're starting to see the space becoming limited. These drivers are already up on the wall.
You see, it almost looks like a 2013 Cup Super Speedway race. Everyone just kind of running the wall. You'd think they're biding their time the way it looks, but they're not. They're pretty aggressive with each other at the high part of the track. Zabot just hit the wall a little bit. That's going to allow Ryan Swan to get that 4th position away, as Gary is looking for that 2nd position on Dalton Kane. He's still firing it to the inside, just can't get enough of a run to complete that spot. He doesn't have enough room to slide up in front of him.
Yeah, doesn't have enough momentum to make that move, but he is pushing more and more, harder and harder as this run goes on for these drivers. And you see him diving more and more low. Meanwhile, in the background, Ryan Swan just ahead of Zabot, who you saw him trying to make a little bit of a swipe for position in behind. Travis Beckner fighting with York. He moves to the outside, the 27. Whoa!
Gary and Kane made contact. Shanewolf's out of line a little bit on the bottom. That's going to allow Beckner to get to his outside. Fast and frantic action around the world's fastest half mile. Now with dirt, as Gary might have, not Gary, but I think Dalton Kane might have some door damage for that. That was a big hit between those two, but there's so much action around this track, especially around the 5th position.
Oh, more and more contact here, catching them side by side for 2nd place. Gary wants it. Kane trying to defend it. You can see some of that contact between them. There goes Gary, the slide job. He secures 2nd place.
Oh, spinner off of turn 2. It's Jordan Martin, and that's our first caution of the night.
And we were just talking about how consistently well he's been running. It's not necessarily come to an end just yet. The race is still young, but an unfortunate slowing down his progress here. We'll take a look and see what happened to him.
Zabot kind of comes up a little bit, and Martin's there. Pretty tough. You're trying to get it all the way to the driver's door on your outside, use as much of the track as possible, just ran out of room. Martin's there. Thankfully, no one hit Jordan Martin.
Taking a look from up top.
There.
Yeah, right there. Both drivers just fighting for the same piece of real estate. Also wanted to take a look, since we have the time now. It's perfect time. Wanted to see what happened between Kane and Gary. I think that might have been before they made contact. Yeah, I think it might have been coming up here, because the top of the side panel there, back straight away, there's a little bit of a touch, and you got to be very careful with the way these tires are. That right front, so easy to damage, so easily to break and pretty much ruin your race.
They're pretty fragile cars for what you kind of think they are. You think they're kind of invincible, but they're really not. They actually are pretty fragile. Any wrong tap on the right front suspension, it's going to break. If you hit the right rear off the wall, bad, you're going to lose a spoiler, going to lose a lot of aero. And the aero matters in these cars, especially at the higher speeds we're going around this high banked track. You cannot lose that spoiler off the right rear by hitting the right rear off the wall. You're going to ruin your race doing that.
Doing some pace laps here. First caution of the evening. So you had 2 different leaders. As you saw Freiberg take the lead away and never quite look back. Dalton Kane trying to see if he can get that spot back. And Tyler Gary, we saw him make that move. And actually didn't even see him get passed back for position. I thought he held on to that 2nd place spot. I guess not.
The caution laps, I don't believe they count, so possibly yellow came out, and the pass, I think that's how it works, at least on dirt. It goes back to the last lap, the scoring at the beginning of the last lap. So he had made that pass, but the yellow came out before they completed lap 15, so that actually goes in favor of Dalton Kane. He gets that spot back.
He's going to be starting.
That's how that works.
I would agree with you, because I could have sworn he legitimately had it there, at least for a couple of corners, so that would be a logical explanation of that. But regardless, we're going to go back green, and that could very much change. We could see Gary get that back. See Kane trying to get the lead back, as Freiberg has been enjoying it for quite a while, but it'll be Freiberg, Kane, Gary, Swan, Zabot, your top 5 as they get let down, and there goes the pace truck into pit road. off and away. We're back green here at Bristol. Great start for the top two. Gary, not so much. Ryan Swan is trying to join the party all the way up on the top.
I'd say watch Swan. He's been pretty aggressive getting through the field, up 4 spots from where he started. Gary goes for a slide job. Him and Kane made more contact. Swan has a big run off the way top of the racetrack. He ran the wall through turns 4, and it got him to 3rd position.
Ryan Swan up on the wall, and look at that, the 27 of Travis Beckner. Where did he come from? Didn't even realize he was a factor in there. Big dive down low to the inside of turn 3 on Kane.
Had a wreck at the back, but no yellow. Connor Hughes and Brad Slaughter got into it, but it is frantic everywhere on this racetrack. Freiberger, Gary, Swan, now the top 3. Beckner has driven from 15th all the way up to the 4th position.
Been a poor start for Dalton Kane. Second all the way back to 6th place, getting caught out by some drivers. Whoa, and an aggressive move on the front straightaway. To the inside he goes.
I think him, Dalton Kane, and Zabo are kind of aggressive, angry driving right now. They're kind of pulling the same aggressive moves that maybe they wouldn't if they were in a better position. But now they both got some damage on their cars, and they got the whole field behind them, it feels like. They got so many drivers stacked up. Navarro, Daryl Bass, who's up from 22nd to 8th. Great run for the 90 car. He just gave the bumper a little bit to the 10. They're through wide.
Contact off in the corner. Bass trying to throw it in. You mentioned Daryl Bass trying to make some moves up to the front, trying to race Navarro. Hit checks with Navarro, almost puts him in the wall, but he will secure that 6th spot. Navarro back to 7th. Jacob York making a dive down below. If you're not pushing now, you're going to get thrown to the back. Zabo getting caught off guard, and he's dropping fast.
And meanwhile, those top 2 are gone. Freiberger has a mirror full of Tyler Gary. He sees $25 in his windshield, and I guess the bank teller behind him saying, no, you can't have it. Gary wants it, or he at least wants to prolong that bounty even further. Meanwhile, Beckner's gotten to 3rd. He passed Ryan Swan a few laps ago, and he is not quite as fast as those top 2, but he's away from Swan.
And then the cluster in behind near the back, it's somewhat sorted itself out, but it can change very quickly if someone makes a mistake here. See Jacob York trying to catch up to Navarro, and in the background, Jane Shainwolf, major damage. Oh, his car is done. Right, you see the right front destroyed. Slowing away. We'll try to see, take a quick look what happened to him.
They can't hit the right front.
And I think it happened here. This is, I think, in turn 2. Got sideways, got loose, and oof.
He just kind of overcorrected a little bit too much and just kind of whacked it. He hit both ends of the right side, right front and right rear. He gets the pit road. We are able to stay green while the battle for the lead. Freiberg and Gary pretty much away from everyone here. As the right front wheel of the Shane will finally reset, but you're still seeing sliders being thrown. This entire track being used. I just can't get enough about Daryl Bass. He started pretty much at the back in 22nd. He's up to 6th.
Great moves. His caution really gave a great chance for some fast drivers to move up some spots. I see Zabo losing a lot of spots. I think his car is done. I think he just hit the wall. Whoa!
Oh, he came down right in front of DeBoer. I think it's DeBoer, Zabo, they almost came together. That was another driver who hit the wall in turn 2. A little bit too hard.
Yeah, right there, caught in the middle of the turn and just couldn't get stuck off of it. Oh, some forward contact there. Oh, and he's stuck on the bottom. As the leaders are coming around, actually someone did not trigger a caution. We remain green, but a battle for the lead with the lap car as the pick. Here we go, Freiberg in the middle, Gary down low.
He's trying to slide Hughes. He couldn't do it. That gives Gary the run. They're 3 wide. Connor Hughes is trying to stay out of the way.
He got out of the way. Whoa, and there was a lap car on the bottom that Gary had to avoid. Shane Wolf down there. They're still side by side, neck and neck into turn 3.
Ed Robinson had an issue. He comes a slide job for Tyler Gary. He gets the spot. Freeberger's going to give it right back to him as the 64 falls off pace. Dead even for the lead. This is letting Beckner catch up a lot.
Beckner's loving this. Hope this continues. Freiberger will take the lead again in on the back straightaway into turn 3. Trying to slide off a little bit more. Gary trying to get a run on the bottom. Can't quite get there, but is still close behind.
All over the rear of this guy. Gary, I think, just can't quite pull off this pass, as this is letting Beckner close in pretty fast, but he's just not quite there yet. Here comes another slide job. Gary's going to force the issue. He didn't quite commit. Freeberger into the wall. Here, he's going to have to slide him back, or else this is going to be Gary's race. It's going to be contact in the turn 1 almost. Man, this is good stuff. I
think he had to check up. There's a lap car coming off the pit lane. Not sure who that was. I think that might have been Connor Hughes. Sorry, not Connor Hughes. Chris Seidenfeiden.
I think it was Ed Robertson.
Robertson.
But this is going to give Gary some cleaner air, or cleaner dirt, if you will. They don't have enough. They don't have lap traffic, at least for a few more laps, but this is exactly what Gary needs as Freeberger hit the wall pretty hard again.
He's struggling now. He's trying to make it work. He's up on top now on the bottom, trying a different line around, trying to see if that could work. Because here comes Travis Beckner to his outside.
Beckner, last time by, was a touch faster than Tyler Gary. He's ripping the top while everyone else trying to run the bottom. But Beckner's going to have to waste no time getting by Freiberger with a slide job here for that second spot. He's got it done, and Freiberger just can't quite cross him over.
Had to let off the gas and let him on through. Nothing he can do. I think that 24 might have used up his tires a little bit more. This race is already getting ready to wrap up here. 15 laps to go. Beckner looking down low on the bottom. Slides up a little bit more in front. Here comes Freiberger with a big charge in from behind.
And this is going to really hurt Beckner as far as trying to get the Tyler Gary, because there is lap traffic they'll catch, but he's not going to be able to take advantage, still having to deal with that third place driver in behind him.
Looking out the Gary, 2 lap cars directly ahead, and then a bigger group on beyond. Not necessarily sure they're going to be a factor. Ooh, see Jordan Navarro. Car is destroyed.
Yeah, that thing is totaled. I can't believe that wasn't a yellow either. I think he spun in front of drivers, but he's at least out of the way of the leaders, as Gary has pulled out to about a 9/10 of a second gap. As you can see, big hit to the front end. I can't believe that wasn't a yellow.
Admins, well, I shouldn't say the admins, the iRacing admins asleep at the wheel. No caution for these drivers, much to probably some of their dismay. Because Tyler Gary looking like he might walk away with yet another one and might get his 4th win of the series. Looking further back, Ryan Swan, Dalton Kane, this battle's starting to heat up. Kane's kind of slowed the bleeding. It's starting to catch back up now.
Seidenfaden's in the middle of the track, and he cannot steer. That's very dangerous. They might come up at him, as they will. And Tyler Gary, Seidenfaden finally gets off the track right as Tyler Gary was coming, but he had a broken right front as well. They're dropping like flies at the very end of this one. I saw this Daryl Bass, he has a lot of damage. He's fallen back to 13th after getting the 6th.
Yeah, you can see right there in behind this battle for position, major damage to the rear end of his car. Bryce Senezak and Casey Borgmeyer trying to do some battle here. Brent Punkari and Jordan Martin. Martin trying to catch back up on a bit of a recovery drive after what happened earlier. And we'll get around the 35 and secure 9th. Meanwhile, Dalton Kane, Ryan Swan. Kane throwing the slide job on the 20. He gets on by, but Swan trying to get it back.
Good move by Kane there. These guys are pretty much rim riding around this racetrack at this point at the back. Not at the back, but really everyone else is running, trying to get that right rear into the cushion as much as possible. So much so, they're pretty much hitting the wall with that right rear, which you got to be careful. You hit it too hard, you're going to lose a lot of downforce, and you're probably going to lose a lot of spots, especially with only 8 to go. It's going to be costly if you make a mistake now.
You just saw there how close the margins are, effectively next to none. These drivers kind of riding the quarter panels on the wall. If anything, that's because that's where the speed is, unless you dive way down low to the wall. In behind, see, here's a battle side by side. Senezak and Borgmeyer at it again for 11th.
And Borgmeyer, he's had a pretty good charge up from 19th position. Lakatos in behind has kind of followed him through, while Senezak kind of sat where he's been the entire time.
Freiberger in the pits. What happened to him? Oh, did he hit the turn 2 wall? Then turn 2 has been calamity corner, it seems, tonight.
He hit it a touch too hard, hit the right front, maybe there. Had to be there. Yeah, didn't look too bad, but that's all it takes.
I mean, he's already had a couple of contacts with the wall. That might have just been the final nail in the coffin for him. And unfortunately, going to be an end to what should have been a very strong showing. Tyler Gary was 2nd and a half away from Travis Beckner, who really can't do much at this point. Dalton Kane, another 5 seconds on back. Then it's Ryan Swan there. Jacob York trying to catch back up, but he's holding off Carter Coop, who's having a fairly good night. And JJ Crow, who we talked about the bat and the ball. Well, he's turned his luck around, I would say, a decent amount. He's up in 8th after starting 23rd.
Definitely the biggest mover at this point, up 15 positions, only rivaled by Beckner, who's up 13 positions in the runner-up spot, but he's once again seeing that 26 go away in the windshield.
Battle here further on behind for position, but in behind them, Tyler Gary, somehow, some way, it didn't seem like it was possible, but he's got himself up near the top spot, white flag in the air one more time around here at Bristol. There's a $25 bounty on his head for any driver that can muster up something to beat the 26. He showed them no one's getting the paycheck tonight except for him. The 26 of Gary around, win number 4 of the season for the 26 machine, and Tyler Gary getting it done here at Bristol.
Payne's gonna, I believe, hold on to that 3rd position. Then Swan, York, Coop got passed for that 5th position. Then Martin, Crow, Punkeri, Borgmeyer, good battle for 10th there. You can't beat greatness, and that's what Tyler Gary is showing right now.
Absolutely fantastic stuff there. Did not start on pole, started in 5th, worked his way up to the front. It was a lot of hard work, took a lot of effort, a lot of laps. Was able to get it done. He's going to try to burn it down here on the front straightaway.
Much as you can burn it
well,
down.
yeah, I was going to say you can't really burn them down, but light them up, I guess. Throw the dirt in the air.
Lap. Do a Polish victory lap. That never hurt.
I think he's trying to figure out what celebration he wants to do. He moved it back around.
what can I do? I'll go this way.
As he gets ready to celebrate here, we'll go through your finishing lineup here. Through the running order, Tyler Gary, Travis Beckner finishing 1-2 yet again after pretty much the same way they finished at Volusia. Dalton Kane in 3rd in the number 7 machine. Ryan Swan in 4th. Jacob York rounding out your top 5. And a great run for Ryan Swan to get that car up there right at the end. Moving on back, Carter Coop in the 52 machine. Then Jordan Martin, we talked about him quietly getting consistent finishes, gets another top 10 to his name. JJ Crow, a solid recovery drive for him, all the way from 23rd to 8th place. Then Brent Pincari in 9th. Casey Borgmeyer was able to hold up Bryce Senizak for a solid top 10.
A great battle to the end for that 10th position. Senizak comes up short in 11th. Lakatos had a little bit of a dust-up with Jacob Bell. He ends up being the last driver on the lead lap in 12th. Then Bell ended up 13th, and he got pretty much the lap back, maybe 3rd of the field. All had issues with the outside wall or with other drivers. DeBoer in 14th. Daryl Bass had a lot of damage. He fell back to 15th after he had a good charge. Ed Robertson had the pit for damage, 16th for him. Connor Hughes had a black flag at the beginning of the race, and he just couldn't recover, but still got 17th out of the day. Past Jordan Navarro, who we saw up the crash off of turn number 2. He finished 18th. Jaden Freiberger, who was definitely a top 3 talent tonight, just didn't get the finish he deserved. Broke the right front, finishing 19th. And Chris Seidenfaden has also had an issue with the turn 2 wall, finishing 20th, 13 laps down.
Yeah, then moving on to our final page of results. Ryan Zabot, he had a really strong showing at the beginning of this race. Unfortunately, just couldn't really execute or get it done by the end. James Shanewolf in the 14, another one up near the front, and Brad Slaughter can't seem to also catch a break, unfortunately, and finishes back in 23rd. But we'll see what we can do in the next upcoming weeks. But wrapping up our finishing order here, let's talk to our top 3 drivers. We'll start first with Dalton Kane in the number 7 machine. Dalton, you got a copy?
Yeah, what's up?
All right, man. How's it going? We saw you there. You just had a solid start position all the way up on pole position. You came down back, fell back a couple spots in the middle there, but came back. Walk us through how your race went.
Oh, shit show, basically. I mean, couldn't go anywhere. One lane, really. And I sucked if I went anywhere else.
Yeah, talk to us about that, because we saw, obviously, as the event went on, drivers went from the bottom to the top, which is what we typically see, but it seems like tonight at Bristol, everyone near the end in those last 10 laps is gunning for that top groove.
Yeah, I thought it would go down to bottom later. Some practice sessions that I did, moved down bottom, but didn't right there. Didn't really practice the top.
All right, well, Dalton, it was a very solid run for you in the number 7 machine. You managed to bounce back up to 3rd, get a chance to talk to us, some solid points to your name. Thank you for talking to us, and a great finish.
Yep, too.
All right, moving on next, we talk to, yet again, once more, Travis Beckner in the number 27 machine. Had a minor setback with an EOL in the heats, but still managed to drive his way from 15th to 2nd. Travis, walk us through how your race went.
Yeah, that was a fun race. I'm surprised we went green for as long as we did. I was expecting it to be a wreck. I was kind of hoping it would be a wreck fest, so I would have more of a shot getting to Tyler there. But ended up not being a wreck fest. We went green for most of the way. Had quite a few close calls there coming through the field, but it worked.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, what the strategy was. Obviously, you were expecting more cautions, but, as the race went on, was it just a matter of just make up as many positions on the restart as possible, or were you trying to save a little bit maybe towards the end?
Yeah, definitely make up as many positions as possible, get in front of the guys that I know that I'm faster than when I'm saving my tires, and then just back it down, save tires, and hope for a caution. I think I backed it down a little bit too much one time, and that's why I lost so much time to Tyler. Then they started battling up there, gained it back, and then he got clear of them, and I started battling him, and just... that was it from there. I saw them get jumbled up on the front stretch coming to the white. I was like, put it out, before we got to the white, so wasn't able to get that caution.
Weren't able to get the caution, but a solid second place finish to you. Of course, I know you would love to add a win, especially with your championship fight heats up with Tyler Gary.
Yeah, I definitely want to beat him. I really want to beat him. I'm tired of having to black flag him every week and every time he beats me, but you know, it happens. But we have a lot of fun with racing each other. We try our best to race clean and not run each other dirty. But you know, sometimes we make contact and just yeah.
All right, well, Travis, solid finishing position for you. I'll let you go. Take care and enjoy your second place finish.
Yep, before I go, I'd like to thank my sponsors, Hendry County Motorsports Park, Central Mobile Home Sheds. Before I get told to thank my grandparents, I gotta thank my grandparents as well. Thank you, Grandma Vicky and Granddad. Of course, gotta thank my dad, my mom, everybody that watched tonight. That was a fun race. Hopefully it put on a show coming through from the back to the front, so can't wait to go back and watch it.
Yeah, it's definitely fantastic to watch. There's so much stuff going on. We can barely pick a battle to focus on. We would definitely call you, Travis. Thanks for talking to us.
Oh yeah, one more thing. And y'all coming out to broadcast, y'all single-handedly probably have the best broadcast on iRacing. Hopefully y'all will be coming back to area again. I hope so. But you know, we'll go with what we got for right now. Glad that y'all are broadcasting VDRA. I'm happy that I still get to talk to y'all once a week, hopefully, from here on out.
We'll see, Travis. Thank you so much. All right, with that, that'll wrap up our interview with Travis Beckner, and moving on to what we should start calling the Tyler Gary podcast, featuring the drivers in second and third, because this man, somehow, Tyler, they put a bounty on your head for $25, but somehow, some way, you found yourself back up on the top step. How did you manage to get it done for a fourth week in a row?
You know, it was a little harder than the last couple races. It was a good battle there with Jaden. He put up a good fight. I was really struggling in the heat race. I was surprised Dalton got such a good run. Shout out to him, racing me clean as well. And I don't know, it wasn't just dominating this time. I had to work for it.
Yeah, and you really did, and I feel like that's what the scoring sheet doesn't really show at the end of the day. All your wins, you had to fight extremely hard, especially from working back from fifth to first. It was a strong 4 cars you had to get past. It took you a while. I think actually, as far as laps led, I want to check that column. You didn't lead the majority. I think you might have led majority of the laps. If not, I think Jacob might have led majority, but a little bit less than halfway, 21 laps. But what I wanted to ask you is about the lines. We saw a lot of experimentation, especially towards the end. A couple guys going up high, a couple guys going low. I mean, when you're seeing the replay, you were down low. Where really was the speed, or do you feel like really both were somewhat worth it?
I've never really ran many races here, so I use the practice a lot. Tonight to try to figure out my lines. I felt like the bottom never really went away 1 and 2 during practice, so that's where I stuck the entire race, even when everyone else was up top. And then I felt like the slider line in 3-4 was good as well. I saw Travis making the top work, but I didn't have the experience or the stones, if you want to say, to go make an attempt to try up there when everything else was working already.
All right, well, Tyler, again, 4 weeks in a row, all 4 races this series, you've taken home the win. Looking on next week, where are we heading next week? Actually, I just had it up for a second. Next round, we will be heading to... I'm trying to find where I had it. I just had the schedule up for a second.
Charlotte, I think.
Yes, we'll be heading over to the dirt track at Charlotte. So, do you think that'll be 5 for 5?
I like to think so. I'm a fan of Charlotte. I've always enjoyed racing there on the official series and whatnot. So I like my chances.
All right, well, Tyler, I'm sure that's probably not what all the drivers wanted to hear, is that you enjoy that track, but we'll see if we'll be talking to you again in Victory Lane for that race. Thanks for talking to us, Tyler.
Thank you. Before, real quick, I'd like to thank everyone at Reaper and Legacy for being on the car, and the Strive Race Raps for putting this badass team together. So a big shout out to Kale.
All right, Tyler. See you next week.
Thank you.
All right, with that, Connor, that's going to be wrapping up interviews here from Bristol Dirt Track. And we've got to say, that was a fantastic race. We only had, what, 2 cautions to slow things down? Other than that, these guys were going at it all race long.
I think it might have even only been 1 caution, and I think the perfect word to describe that race was frantic. I mean, everyone was rushing to try to get to the top of the racetrack, and then the bottom started coming in for some drivers. Saw some drivers not be able to make saw some drivers not be able to make the top work or the bottom work, and we're just kind of struggling. But you had a bunch of drivers who were really fast, but you had a lot of drivers also kind of bite the dust out of turn 2. The attrition rate a little higher than I expected for a race with only 1 caution, but we talk about it all the time. These cars are very fragile. You hit it wrong, you're going to be out of the race. And like I said, there are a lot of drivers who got their way through the field cleanly as well. Beckner did a great job. The 90 did a great job before hitting the wall. Daryl Bass just didn't get the finish he deserved, and also JJ Crow. A lot of great recovery drives, but I think we're going to have to, maybe someone's going to have to, I'm not saying I'm going to do it, I'm saying someone's probably going to have to double that bounty. We might have to go up to $50 because Tyler Gary still can't be stopped.
We'll see what's going to happen. Drivers are going to be heading to something a little more familiar, more typical dirt track. The dirt track at Charlotte coming up next week, 50 laps for that event as well. But like you said, at the way they're going, they might have to double it up and give it to the next one. But we'll see what's going to happen for round number 5 in just 1 week's time. My name is Finity Kuna here with Connor Horn. Thank you so much for watching here from SimTV, and we'll be signing out for tonight. Thank you for watching.